And while Democrats continue to dig their heels in, President Trump is doing what he always does, delivering for the American people. The big, beautiful bill is moving forward, and that's no small feat, especially when you consider the relentless resistance from the left, who want to keep this country weak, divided, and vulnerable to foreign influence. But whether it's negotiating peace, securing our borders, cutting taxes, or getting tariffs right, President Trump's agenda is moving forward and fast. One man helping to drive that unprecedented pace and unwavering focus is White House Deputy Chief of Staff James Blair. He's been at the heart of this administration's strategy to get critical legislation across the finish line. And I sat down with James to see how they're pushing past the chaos to get things done, and what comes next in the fight to put Americans, not the Washington elite, back in charge. James, we have seen an unprecedented pace in this White House. I mean, I think people look at what you guys are doing and they say, how do you get so much done? So tell us what the secret is.
Well, first, it starts with the president. I've said before publicly, it's the rest of us just trying to keep up with him. I mean, for a person at any age to have the stamina and the energy that he does is very impressive. So it's even more impressive, obviously, that he's a grandfather. When we were talking that flying to the Middle East and back, the rest of us didn't sleep, because when we were there last week, he was just working the whole time, and he was digging out from the stack, as I call it. So I was getting called into the front cabin with notes on some papers I handed him a few weeks ago, stuff to go over, nothing urgent, but he was catching up, and that was, you know, an all-night affair, 18 hours in a row or something like that. We were just trying to keep up, but it's letting us get a lot done.
So the resistance from the left is constant. They are always trying to trip up anything going on here, any forward motion and progress for the country. But it feels like you guys in this White House have really dealt with the resistance from the left very well. So what's the secret to that?
I think it's really the president's just total defeat of them. I mean, he's been through everything that they could possibly throw at him, literally lawfare, and he won anyway, and he won with a mandate, right? A majority of the country. He's the first Republican to win the popular vote in 20 years, the first non-incumbent Republican to win the popular vote since 1988. He has the majority of the country behind him, and there's only so much they can do. I think they're a party without anything to offer the American people. I think they're flailing. I think that they don't stand for anything, and they're really having a fight amongst themselves about who they are and how they go forward. That has allowed us to really be a step ahead of them and keep them a little bit off balance. Conversely, we're behind a leader that very much knows what he believes and very much knows what he wants to accomplish. So in many ways, it is just one side with a leader and a clear vision versus a side that is really, all they have is resist. Last week, the president did something that many Democrats have advocated for actually over the years, which is controlling the price of prescription drugs, right, as they're paid for by Medicaid and Medicare. This will save taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars, and it will really strengthen those programs. And not a peep from so many Democrats who have advocated for this policy for many years, right? So that just tells you that they don't actually believe anything.
It feels like, James, the first 6 months are just going to be historic in so many different ways. But what is coming up? What are you guys working on? I feel like every time there's an announcement made from this White House, it's very exciting.
It's actually interesting as we sort of get through the 100-day plan and get through so much so quickly. He has started to ask about a lot of things that, frankly, weren't even on my radar, and saying, bring me a plan on this, bring me a plan on that. Maybe they're not at the top of mind for many people, but they're really important stuff. Getting the bid process in the United States government to work better. Right now, we have, every agency does a different bidding process, and it wastes a ton of money. It wastes a ton of human resources. It's a very inefficient way to run the government. So this is, as a business guy, he knows that, these little things you can do operationally that improve the outcome of the organization. So look, probably not something we're going to campaign on, but saves a ton of money for taxpayers, makes the government work better, and lets the American people have a better experience with their government. The big thing that I want to talk about is really what comes next after we get the reconciliation bill passed. That package will have most of the president's domestic agenda that he campaigned on. It's going to have enough funding to secure the border for the entire term of his presidency and do the mass deportations that we promised. It's going to have enough money to really secure our country by letting our military build to the level it needs to and really start to modernize and move into the next generation. It's going to have tax cuts to stimulate the capital side of the economy, renewing the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act, which really unlocked growth in this country. And it's going to have tax cuts for the average middle and working class voter. When people are more incentivized to work because they take more of their pay home, it makes the labor market more competitive. And I think that by the time we have that done this summer, the economy is going to go to levels you've never seen before, particularly with the tariffs and all of the jobs coming home.
We're definitely paying attention to that. But I want to ask about you for a second. You and I obviously were colleagues. We worked together on the past campaign. This is a big job. This is a big role. And you're a husband, you're a dad. So tell me, how has all of this been for your family?
It's a really incredible experience. I've got young kids. I've got 3 under 5. And I think that all of us that work in politics want to make a difference. That's why we get into it. And it's exciting to be able to have a hand in helping the president implement his vision. And my kids, you know, they don't totally understand it, but they think it's very cool. They have a picture with the president. My son recently drew me a picture, which is me and him and President Trump, the 3 of us. And he's ready to come to work and work with President Trump as soon as the president will have him. So it's honestly great to have kids in Washington to learn about our nation's history and learn about why it's important to serve your country.
And while the job comes with long hours and high stakes, for James, some of the most meaningful moments have been the personal ones.
We've had an incredible campaign, and now you've been at this White House a couple months. Best memory so far?
I think introducing the president to my family. He got to meet my wife and kids, and I think it earned me some street cred. He said, I can't believe it. Look at you, all these children and their beautiful kids too. It was very nice to them. And then my daughter, who's only 2.5 years old, she went to her cousin and she said, I was with President Trump and you weren't. I said, oh man, we're in trouble. She's a spicy one.
That gets them every time. Well, they'll be able to come here with you. They'll be able to see this beautiful White House and have these memories forever. And one day when they realize what their dad did, I'm sure they're going to be proud of you.
It'll be cool one day for them, one day.
And for James, it's not just about being part of history. It's about helping shape the future.
Well, at the end of President Trump's 4 years here, if you could lay out a perfect way for him to go out, what would be your hope?
On the economic side, reinvigorating the American, sort of a new American industrial revolution, both in the traditional manufacturing sense, but also, you know, thinking about AI, thinking about next generation technologies, being the leader in that, and giving just really the opportunity for Americans to have a wide variety of great paying jobs. There used to be in this country the ability, if you worked hard, you went to work every day, then you could probably afford a house, afford a car or 2, afford a vacation, and we've lost a lot of that. And I know the president wants to bring that back first and foremost. 2 is getting our country on a better fiscal footing, getting our country financially on a better track as it pertains to the budget and the deficit, while also bringing peace in the world and really restoring America's role as the beacon on a hill that ensures American security. All of that can be done with the American people first. And that's what the campaign was all about. That's what the president is all about, which is America first. It's not America only, but it's America first. It's the people in this country that contribute to our society, that pay taxes here. That is our first and foremost customer, and we want to give them the opportunity to be better off than their parents. In America, every generation is supposed to have more opportunity than the last. And I think that that's been going in the wrong direction. I think the president thinks that too. And hopefully we've turned that around 4 years from now.
Well, you're playing a big role in it, and we appreciate all you're doing for our country right now. So, James Blair, thanks for sitting down with us.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.